Welcome to Fairy Tale Game Jam 2016. I'm your host at Burningwood M, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the first 48 hours of this one month game jam. What we're going to be talking about is basically team-ups and pitches, because a lot of people wanted to work with others or mentioned they wanted to team up with people, and pitches and team-ups are kind of fun when they work out. When they don't, then you want to be a lone wolf, but let's be honest. So, given that, the first week, as you guys come up with your pitches, whether they're in video form or just text, to attract another team, I want you guys to consider first and foremost rating and content. Label what you feel the game is going for. Who's it going for? Why? You want to make sure that in case of a witch trial where you're persecuted, that your team and yourself knew what you're trying to make and what you were going for, so you can defend it in case it comes under some scrutiny. I'll be showing 2 examples of game pitches later on in the video. As you consider this, as it's fairy tales, you can just take the aesthetics of what a fairy tale is and make something very for everyone, all ages, non-offensive, that is for kids, for adults, and no one will be pissed off that you made it. However, fairy tales are pretty messed up in origin. Modern fairy tales like this one, which I strongly recommend, like Beautiful Darkness, tell a very compelling story about humanity through magic and fairy tale themes. Another thing to consider is Disney, the perpetuator of fairy tales, has a lot of dark themes and elements that, even if they're watered down, are still there. Spoiler alert, I'm talking about Pinocchio. Pinocchio, as you can see here, is being seduced into basically going the wrong way, becoming a runaway and staying a runaway, which will lead him, and his friends are also seduced by doing bad things and not listening to their parents, into becoming a workforce. Basically selling their humanity and magically being transformed into jackasses. And those jackasses have no humanity, and it's basically a huge allusion to child slavery. And that's a Disney film. As we look at something like Little Red Riding Hood, spoiler alert, we can also tell that there's a lot of deep, scary themes, or just some context that we can contextualize as adults, which we couldn't get as children. Mainly sexuality. You know, not just Little Red Riding Hood sexuality, but masculinity and femininity of the time. You know, the wolf, in order to enter the female sphere, has to dress up like a woman. That's cross-dressing. And then after entering the female sphere, cannibalizes both the grandmother, Little Red Riding Hood, and later on, a very masculine hero, the lumberjack in some tellings, has to save Little Red Riding Hood. What does that really say about society at the time? Interestingly enough, 2 commentaries are kind of made. One being a sequel to the original Red Riding Hood, where it just kind of takes apart some elements of the story and makes everyone adults. And the second one, which I really recommend, is Freeway with Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland, that does an incredible job of retelling the story and modernizing it like the 1990s. I recommend this film. But unlike the other film, actually adds a lot of the social commentary, social class, gender identity, all those other issues, and maintains those same type of moral messages the original story had. And that's why I love this film. And I love the tagline, "Her life is no fairy tale." As we kind of move further in how stories are told, at least in movies and retellings of fairy tales, you get things like Hansel and Gretel, which I love. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter 3D. I didn't see the other one. You should just check out the YouTube. It's funny. Hansel and Gretel Warriors Witchcraft. And again, which is interesting, is parallel to Little Red Riding Hood. One version of the film is a sequel to the original story set in the past, and the other one is a modern telling. However, the modern telling and the other remake, or the sequel, don't really get the moral messages of Hansel and Gretel, which is related to parenting, again, talking about social economics, marriage. There's a lot of things you could draw out that weren't really put in these action-packed movies. So that's what I want you guys to consider as you brainstorm. And I mean guys, I mean everybody. Okay, I think everyone should brainstorm. Are you going to use the aesthetic of fairy tales, or are you going to like have a moral story or some set of morals and use those in order to craft your game world, make your game mechanics, so forth and so on. So I have two pitches that I'll share that are going to use these ideas. So here's pitch number one. It's for kids, and it's a 2D side-scroller narrative fairy mashup created from some grade school students that tells the story of Candy driving someone to steal and lie to feed their addiction, even though it causes problems with friends. Mechanics: the player plays different characters in different scenes that tell a cohesive story. The moral of the game: obsession with something can hurt friendships. Now, I might have to finish this because I work with kids. I'm lucky in that regard, and sometimes I get to teach game design stuff. However, they can't program, and I have to do all the programming and art, or well, they did the art, but I do it's a mess. So this idea is totally for kids, even though it deals with something heavy like addiction affecting friendships. Now, the game I want to start on for this game jam, this is the pitch for teen to adult audiences. It's a 2D side-scroller modern fairy tale where a woman in South Korea is killed by a man in the bathroom who's suffering from schizophrenia and self-labels himself a misogynist. Mechanics: the player is the female character, and the game offers 3 endings. The player will be warned about explicit content, but will not be warned what will get them killed in one of the endings. The moral of the game: extreme alcohol consumption may lead to death. Now that might be a terrible moral of the game, but that's what I'm drawing from it. I still think it's interesting, and I think it's something that I've been thinking about as a parent. I would want my daughter to play this game, is one of my goals and reasons I'm making it. And like I said about criticism, there's probably going to be a couple of people that are going to be really pissed that I'm making this game and putting it on the internet. And I'm okay with that. I'm willing to, as an artist, as a creator, justify my work because I can. So that's what I want you guys to consider for the Fairy Tale Game Jam. Hopefully, as you guys post reactions to this, or maybe a couple of people want to actually join me on this game that I want to make, that'd be awesome. If not, I'd like to hear some feedback, like should I make it 3D, what engine should I use, so forth and so on, in the forums on our official itch.io Game Jam site, which I'll post a link below. That would be cool. If not, you guys can also post your ideas in the next 48 hours and try to get people to join your team. Heck, I might even join your team if your idea is great. Alright, see you on the forums. I'm still excited. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.